Hello to our folks back home. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Michelle from SCB 10X, and today I'm really honored to interview Kiana, the CEO and co-founder of Vercept. We're going to talk about how Vercept is reimagining how we interact with our computers and our devices, and all the work and technology behind it. So, Kiana, can you just introduce yourself and talk about, your background, what you were doing before you started Vercept?
For sure. Thank you for having me, Michelle. I'm Kiana. I have been doing AI research for the past 10 years, and I was a senior researcher at Allen Institute for AI, leading the robotics effort. And it was about a year ago that a few colleagues of mine and I, we decided that it's time to make a bigger impact and build a product and get to the dark side of building a company.
Yeah. Did you talk, maybe share with us, so you were researching computer vision and robotics, particularly?
Yes, I was a computer vision researcher at first.
Mhm.
And then the reason why I got into robotics was because back in the day, the things that people were optimizing for was ImageNet classifications and object detection. But my passion was to make an impact, to do something that solves somebody's problem in the real world. Again, back in the day, we were still like working on very simple computer vision problems, but we were starting to see that AI is understanding the visual environment much better. So that's why I got into robotics. I decided that, we want to learn how to interact with our world, how to interact with the environment that is around us, how our actions is impacting the environment, and how we can basically cohabitate with agents and AI that is living in our environments. So one of the fun projects that I actually did during my PhD was I attached a couple of sensors on a dog's head and limbs and recorded all of its movements, and basically showed that this visually intelligent animal, which is a dog that is running around in our environments, is a great way of actually learning a vision model, learning from the dog what are the walkable surfaces in an area, which is a very interesting problem in robotics, how to do obstacle avoidance, how to understand depth, do depth estimation in computer vision. And that was a really fun project. That was actually my gateway of getting into robotics and agentic AI, by just understanding that there's so much in the visual intelligence. There's so much more to visual intelligence than just image classification and object detection.
Mhm. Yeah. I think like the agentic arena has really kicked off like this really exponential curve, across all industries. Yeah. So maybe can you give an overview about Recept, the vision for the company, and maybe talk a bit about your first live product, Why?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so as I mentioned, it was about a year ago, and we all had this itch for building, for making an impact. And all the co-founders, we all love nature, and we live in Pacific Northwest. And I mean, like, this is a picture of our office. You can see how we always want to be outside, like walking in nature, but we also want to be productive and use our computers. But we basically wanted to build something that helps us spend less time by our computers, but still be impactful. So that's how the vision of Vercept came into play. It's quite simple. We just want to get rid of mouse, keyboard, touchscreen altogether. We truly believe that we are stepping into a new era of human-computer interaction. It's ridiculous that for sending a simple email, we have to do so many poking if it's on our phone, or so many mouse move if it's on our computer, and so many clicks and so many types for just the simple task of sending an email. or sending a text to a loved one. And our idea is that we want to make this so smooth and transition this to having Y be, which is our product, having Y be the layer that sits between the user and any device that they have, and make turn the intent of the user into the result without having to require the user to take all of these intermediate actions.
Yeah. I think what makes the interface of Vi so simple and effective is that we don't need to, download additional plugins and, logins. It's completing tasks with just the existing applications on our desktop. So, what are some of the most common like use cases or tasks that people are using Vi for today?
That's a great question. There's actually a wide range of tasks. Sometimes we do get surprised about the feedback that we get from our users of how they're using Vi. But I can put them in basically two categories. First category is people who have to do a lot of repetitive tasks and they don't want to do it. We have this user that is a real estate agent, needs to check on multiple legacy websites every day, gather some information. They don't have any APIs or integrations. It's like a legacy old school website, but they all have to go in all of these websites, gather information and putting it on a spreadsheet. Repetitive tasks, very important for their job, but doesn't bring them joy. So that's one set of category of the tasks. The second category is enabling people to do something that they were not able to do before that. For example, we have users who are using Vi to write formulas or even set up scripts in Excel that they don't know how to do it. There goes like a lot of training into learning how to set these environments up, how to write these formulas, how to integrate like these scripts with these platforms. But they're asking Vi to do it for them and also to educate them, to help them understand how to do this more efficiently, and basically learn from Vi how to do that task easier.
Mhm. You have this like watch and repeat capability that I think is so novel. Like, users just basically demonstrate the task to Vi, and then Vi remembers it and then automates that task forever. Can you talk about how that differs from like some of the traditional RPA solutions that enterprises are already using?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that we realized was that is a very big pain point. We talked to a lot of people who've been using these RPA solutions. The average time that it takes to go from knowing exactly what process you want to automate to actually getting a solution that works robustly for that, it's a really long time. The reason is there has to be a solution architect or a process mining team that comes and sits with you, spends a really long time with you to understand exactly how your process looks like, understands all of your edge cases. Then they go back to their team and they engineer all of these edge cases. So what are the problems here? Number one, it takes a lot of effort from you to show all of these processes and all the edge cases because every single edge case needs to be engineered. The other one is that if any website doesn't have integrations or makes any changes to their platform, you have to go back and get the RPA engineers to come and change the solution and adapt the solution to fix the discrepancies that are being faced. So that's why a lot of people are going towards the path of using AI and conversational AI to do the tasks. It's much easier for me to just explain the high level task and like with even details, but then let the common sense that is embedded in this AI to find all the edge cases. Now, This is easier to be said than done. Why? Still explaining, writing exactly the type of prompt that our foundation model understands and can turn into actions can be hard. Not everybody is a good prompt engineer. Not everybody knows how to prompt foundation AI models. So the best way that we found was that we can actually enable a lot of people who have never even had a chat with AI to just show why, how you do a task and explain it similar to how you explain it to a new employee that just joined your company. Then from that, we are going to find a lot of the edge cases and mine exactly how the process looks like. Without having any human in the loop, you'll get that prompt. Now, there might be some small edge cases here and there that you forgot to mention in the first time you were showing it to your colleague. That's okay. You can update the process. You can update the workflow by interrupting it and giving it more feedback and saying, update this workflow. So that's basically the watch and repeat. We should really call it, actually, now that I'm thinking about this on a live interview, we should call it train your employee or train your new colleague. That's a better way of putting it.
I can totally see myself delegating expense reimbursement to Vi. Yeah.
That's one of the favorite use cases for
The
sure.
amount
And
of
you don't
work.
Yes, and exactly because like you don't need to set up any additional integrations, even
Mm.
if you are working with a bank that is very outdated, or with a invoice reconciliation that doesn't have any integration or API. Why would be able to do it? Because as long as it has a UI, it will work, and you don't need to give us any authentication. It will work on your device, so anything that you're already logged in, it will work with that, and you don't need to give your user pass or any OAuth to a cloud service that you don't trust.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Vi will really be very powerful for the enterprise. Yeah. So can you talk a bit about your go-to-market plan for the enterprise segment specifically? Yeah.
So, as I mentioned,
Mm.
by why is going to enable people to be a lot more efficient. It can be on the device. It's something that RPA solutions can't offer, which is you will not go to an RPA company for a one-off use case. You're not going to go there if it's just one person in a big enterprise, like
Mm.
that is having that issue or is having to do that task. So instead, you can just do all of these tasks and delegate them to Y. No matter whether this is a problem that is happening just for one employee, whether it's a seasonal problem, like you just have this for 3 months and it's not worth like doing the full getting an RPA solution for it, or whether it's something that is very repetitive and it's needed across many of the team members. So basically, the idea is that Vibe will enable every individual to be 100 times more efficient. And think of this as what generative AI coding did, and tools like Cursor and Claude Code enabled each of the developers to be 100 times, maybe even more efficient. And now that's why it's going to enable for every single other department in a company, no matter how non-technical these users are. Because we are building Vi for non-technical users. We are bringing AI. Our goal is to bring AI to everybody and make it available for everyone, not just people who know how to code or know how to prompt models.
Mhm. When we last spoke, you shared that like you envision Y operating like as one interface, like not just across the desktop, but like across all my devices, like my iPad, my phone, um, my desktop, So like, where are you prioritizing that milestone in your like product roadmap?
Yeah, great question. We've made massive progress since last time we met. Actually, I think these days in AI, massive progress is being made pretty much every single day. So the speed of how things are evolving is extraordinary. Um, but since the time last time we spoke, we actually rebuilt the app from scratch. And the reason why we did that is because we wanted it to be cross-platform. The vision is getting clearer and clearer, and we realized that a lot of our users are using Windows, and they're on Windows platforms. We have some users that are on Ubuntu, and we actually had some users that emailed us and said, I've bought a MacBook just for why. But we realized if there is a need, if there is a pull, we have to respond to that. So as of about a month ago, we have Y is officially cross-platform. We have been beta testing our Windows version as well, and it's the same interface. It's all the workflows are shared across different devices. So if you have a Windows machine and you have a Mac machine, your workflows will be shared, so you don't need to repeat everything every single time. Um, and our model, we've trained our model in a way that it's cross-platform. We don't need to train in a separate model for each operating system that we design. And the reason for that is because we are not using any of the, the DOM or any underlying tools. We are building a model that understands the screen and understands your device exactly like you do, like a person does. It's visual. It sees the screen and understands that if there is a button with a magnifier glass on, that's a search button, no matter what the underlying text of the DOM says, of the tag, and the tag is. So because of that, I think it's enabling us to go way beyond just the one single platform. So we've launched our Windows beta version and we'll release to public in a few weeks, in the next few weeks. And we have actually started development of a phone app as well. So we have the proof of concept that our model works really well on phone devices as well. But here's how we see the product evolving in the next few years. Just imagine you're on the run and you need to run a task. You need to look up some information about this person that you're meeting with, or maybe you want to check the traffic, or maybe you want to run a big like financial script that is running on Excel, and will give you some info, like some results back on how the stock market is doing today. Um, you can simply tell whatever device that you have, it can be your phone, it can be your tablet, you can just tell it that this is the task I want to do. Y will decide for you which one of your devices it should run this task on. And because Y is centralized across all of your devices, it will go and launch the task on the device that it should be launched at. For example, if the process is writing some code and running it, and Y knows that your coding tools are on your laptop, which is connected, plugged in at your home internet. Even if your internet is not great, that's okay. Y launches the task on your home computer. Or if it's a very heavy financial engineering script, Y knows that you have that on your cloud at work. It can just run it on your cloud system. Or if it's just checking traffic and use my current location, it can just do it on the phone. So we are envisioning Y to be that operating system that sits on top of all devices, whether it's a smart fridge, whether it's a computer, and takes care of managing all of your devices and sending the tasks to each of them individually.
I cannot wait because I am diehard Windows girl. I have so many of my colleagues who are like Michelle trying to convince me to jump on the other side, and I'm not. So I cannot wait for the Windows version. Yeah. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So Mac people, you should go and download Buy right now. Yeah. Um, maybe talk. I want to talk a bit about maybe dive in a bit about competition. Who do you identify as like your closest competitors, and where do you see Vi and maybe even Vercept as a company differentiating against some of your competitors?
Yeah, it's a very competitive landscape. When we started the company, and this is crazy to think about. When we were starting the company, there were no computer use or browser level automations in a way that we have it today. Um, Cloud computer use, Manus, Operator, all of these came out within the last 11 months. And if
Mm,
you think about it, it's a lot of progress. Um, and there are, I think every day, there's like three more companies that come out that are doing some sort of an automation on device or on browser. The majority of the competition is on browser and is on cloud,
mm,
which is there are a lot of pros and cons for each of these methods. But I think our distinguishing factors is being on your device. So when we are on your device, you don't need to set up any integrations. You don't need to give me your username and password. You don't need to log into every single new things on the cloud. You can actually use the files that you have on your computer. It can be actually alongside you, and you can go back to it as soon as you have like an immediate task. And in the middle of a task, you get stuck. You can ask why to come and help you. So it's not a separate agent that is sitting somewhere and you have to use another portal to go and access it.
mm,
More importantly, you might have a lot of softwares that require license that is on your device. You don't need to install and buy a separate license somewhere else. It will all be in one place, and that's where you are getting most of your work done as well. So this is one of the biggest differentiating factor. And the reason why we can enable this is because we are not using any of the HTML DOM or tags. We
mm,
are using this in a visual way. And that's why we are not limited to browser. We can do anything on a computer. And I'm
mm,
very proud of how our model outperforms a lot of the state-of-the-art models that are out there.
mm. I remember like when our team last tried Vi, uh Vi would function when we're not using the computer. But do you envision basically like Vi to function while we're actively doing tasks as well? So like we're doing one task and Vi in parallel, like it's not just working during our lunch break, but it's actually working side by side with us. Yeah.
So, as I mentioned, the
Mm,
speed at which everything is changing and we are evolving and we are also moving really fast, even though our team is small,
mm,
is extraordinary.
mm,
So not only you can use Vi in the background now,
mm,
you can run multiple tasks in the background at the same time with Vi.
mm,
So as you are doing your task, you can now tell Vi to go and order your lunch, send an email, check your calendar, run some script on your spreadsheet, and in the meantime, you are on a meeting on your computer
mm.
and working on something else on your device. So this was a feature that was requested by a lot of our users, and we are obsessed with feedback that we receive from user. Feedback is a gift. So we have that feature today as well. So if you download the app, you can just launch multiple tasks on the background.
Um, yeah, that's great. Wow, your speed of like product development is, yeah, very impressive.
That's the only way to be successful.
Mm,
These days, things are coming out really fast, and if you are listening to the users, listening to the feedback you're getting, that gives a lot of information on what to build next. And it's actually users are very ready to give you that gift of what do I need, and that's how you can enable them to achieve a lot more than they have previously achieved. And nobody wants to be multiplied by two or like multiplied by one. People want to be multiplied by 100. So that's why it's very important for them to be able to just launch a lot of tasks, watch them, because like every one of our background tasks, you can just open the window and watch exactly what they're doing. And at any point, you can pause any of the tasks, manipulate like the environment that they're working on, and or leave them running. And the idea is that basically every person will become a manager of a lot of Y agents. And then you don't need to, do the repetitive mundane tasks, and you can just put your brain power onto things that is actually important and exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to borrow Jacob's description of you. He said, Vercept is creating a DeepSeek moment for computer vision. And I thought that was a very interesting way of describing your team. What do you think about like the research culture that you have built within Vercept?
So well, first of all, Jacob is very kind to us as always. I always say, working at a nonprofit for many years was a curse and a blessing at the same time. When you are limited in resources, it helps with creativity and learning how to be efficient with the resources that you have. So I think that's actually what happened to DeepSeek as well. There was limitation of resources, so they had to be more creative with how they're training these models, and that's why we saw what we saw, and that's how we are training our models as well. We learned how to be efficient and how to train these models in a resource constrained environment, and that's why we've building this cheaper and efficiently without sacrificing the quality.
Any piece of advice that you want to give to entrepreneurs about building a resilient solution that can garner like large market adoption? Yeah.
So I think the most important one is take every feedback seriously, and prioritize based on how many times you have heard a feedback. Because you get a lot of, I do think we are fortunate enough that we have a lot of users that are giving us feedback, and we have built that community around it. But you get a lot of different direct pulls in different directions. Somebody wants a Windows app, somebody wants a mobile app, somebody wants a feature to run on background, somebody wants a feature to have YB voice enabled. First of all, those are the things that people should focus on. Like the feedback that you get, just use the user feedback to decide what you want to work on. And in terms of how to prioritize, of like what is the first one to prioritize and what are the features that to work on first, just think about how the number of times that you've heard that feedback. And just have a weighted, if you want to be very scientific about this, which I think everybody should be, have a weighted distribution of the features that you have based on how many people have asked for it.
We have 1 minute left. So just to wrap up, what has been the most rewarding and what has been the most challenging for you about wearing this startup founder hat?
Yeah, the most challenging is exactly what I just mentioned, prioritization. You get the pull in like all these different directions, and the challenge, which is much harder than people might think, is how do I choose what to do next, because it can pull the company in a totally different direction, and set your path apart. The most rewarding one is it just warms my heart when our users with disability and visual impairment reach out with positive feedback. It's when we started making Y, our main focus was to enable everyone to achieve more. But I think we underestimated how much we can enable people with disabilities and how much we can impact their lives and enable them to do things that was unimaginable for them. And that has been very heartwarming and rewarding.
Thank you so much, Kiana. I really enjoyed this interview. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. And on behalf of SCB 10X, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed chatting as well.
Thanks, guys.